Harper Audio presents A Small Town Love Story, Colonial Beach, Virginia, by Sherryl Woods, performed by Christina Traister. Foreword. I grew up in Arlington, Virginia, the very large suburb of Washington, D.C., but I was blessed from the age of 4 by the privilege of spending my summers at a beach cottage in the very small town of Colonial Beach, Virginia. Our house had a wraparound porch, and what I remember most from those early years was riding my tricycle off the edge of the side porch out of the view of my parents. Or not. So many stories from those days were exaggerated, embellished, or flat out never happened. But it was summer, and family, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends, was crowded onto benches around a long banquet-length table in a huge dining room, windows open to the hot breeze, as we cracked piles of Maryland blue crabs. The air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle and the salty bite of the nearby Potomac River. Stories and laughter, along with an antique splatterware coffee pot filled with some sort of adult beverage, abounded. By my teens, I had become one of the town's summer kids, though most of my friends were year-round locals. It seemed to me from those lazy, idyllic days that they were incredibly lucky to live in a small town. I wanted desperately to live here, too. I, in my youthful and only child exuberance for what was best for me, thought that my mother should be happy to give up her career at a direct mail advertising agency to work as a waitress at one of the town's gambling casinos, and that my dad, who worked for the Alcohol and Tobacco Tax Division of the Internal Revenue Service, could surely find work at the nearby Naval Surface Warfare Center at Dahlgren. Suffice it to say, they were not impressed by my plan. Undaunted, I continued to beg the adults in my family to accompany me on lengthy summer stays so I could spend my days on the beach with my friends, snag a lime or cherry snow cone in the evening on the boardwalk, play an endless number of surprisingly energetic card games, and bake countless pizzas in an old gas oven we're lucky didn't blow up the house. Drives around the point where the Potomac River meets Monroe Bay were an almost daily ritual. In fact, that drive is so ingrained in the lives of many residents that their funeral processions take it one last time. Those years and those friends, plus all those lasting memories, created a lifetime love affair for me with small towns everywhere. Every book I've ever written in a small town setting was inspired in one way or another by Colonial Beach, Virginia. A couple of my series, in fact, the Trinity Harbor trilogy, and more recently, my Chesapeake Shores series, which topped bestseller lists as novels and TV ratings charts for Hallmark Channel, were set in this very same region and borrowed from at least some of my experiences over the years. Colonial Beach has an incredibly unique history, dating back for more than 100 years in an area that produced the likes of George Washington, James Monroe, and Robert E. Lee. Steamboats and ferries brought visitors from Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Northern Virginia to stroll a boardwalk crammed with entertainment venues for dancing, dining, bowling, and roller skating. There was a love-hate relationship with the gambling casinos and the crowds they brought in the 1950s. Watermen thrived with the abundance of crabs, oysters, and rockfish. Local farmers brought truckloads of produce through town, stopping at the homes of their regular customers with everything from tomatoes and string beans to cantaloupes, watermelon, and peaches. I loved those tomatoes so much that I used to make my father send them to me via FedEx for my birthday every July when I was living and working full-time in Miami. Then the casinos were outlawed in 1959. Around the same time, the famous oyster wars were fought between the oystermen and the authorities over the dredging of the beds in the Potomac and the Chesapeake Bay. By the 1960s, the town had reverted to a quiet, sleepy place that has struggled to find a new identity. While I miss the steamboat and ferry era, I'm not quite that old, after.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?